Good afternoon. It's Michelle Thompson with Resistant Vision Coaching and Consulting. And I'm going to kind of do something based on one of the blog posts I just put out. And I feel like it's kind of important to talk about like how I started practicing law. And this post will actually kind of cover ground about like before I even saw my first client. And the reason I want to go into this is because the stress of practicing law starts for many of us. If you don't come from a family of huge means, it actually starts before we see our first client. It's, just the move and getting accustomed to a new place can actually be really stressful and can really set things up in really odd ways for us to practice law. I also want to talk a bit about how self-care is really important, and in these early days it's actually easy to really toss that out of the window. So my first legal job was in DC. I won a public interest fellowship and I was thrilled, and I was going to live in the city of my dreams, and I was gainfully employed, and I was going to take advantage of all the things, right? And I finally left the Midwest, but I was really broke when I got to DC. I barely had any money, right? I barely had money for food. I couldn't put down a security deposit in the first month's rent. So I actually had to call my mom for the money. And she was already furious that I left DC, which is a different issue. And I had to go back to her and say, hey, if I'm not going to be homeless, I'm going to need your help here. I actually don't remember what I slept on. I don't. I think I had a sleeping bag that I moved to DC with, and I slept on the floor. And I was afraid to unpack and live in the apartment because my rent and security department hadn't been squared away yet, right? So, I mean, not only that, I was afraid to return the rental truck because would I have room on my credit card to cover it? Would I be able to pay the bill when it came due? Yeah, this is what was hanging over my head before I started practicing law. So you might wonder, the 24-year-old that I was, and am not any longer, how did I handle all of these worries? I bought some food because I love food, but alcohol actually helped me soothe my nerves so I could sleep at night. It's not the first time that alcohol provided me succor in this way, right? I used to keep a gallon of wine in my fridge when I was in law school because I couldn't fall asleep after the day, right? So I bought a bottle of rosé and I just started drinking it right out of the bottle after I talked to my mom. That's how upset and that's how shook I was after I asked her to help me, right? And until I borrowed my first and received my first paycheck, I ended up borrowing money for lunch from my colleagues, and I looked forward to events where there was food. That's how I survived. So at this point in my life, the challenge was to quiet my very, very noisy mind. And I couldn't figure out that I had tools to do that at all, right? So what would I have told my 24-year-old self there? And this is what you can take from this story. That number one, I had running shoes and I liked to run. And I actually probably should have hit the pavement and just started running. And the second thing I would have shown her, like me now would show her then, was about EFT and tapping and to go ahead and pull that stress out of my body. It's understandable, right? And that might have been able to open up possibilities for handling that first month in DC, or to actually just know that it's going to be okay. I'm going to get paid and things will turn around. Notice that the tools that I would have encouraged my younger self to reach for would have gotten me out of my head and into my body, because our bodies really provide the way out of the distress that we're encountering. So that's the first of these posts. You're going to see some more of them. If you go to my bio, you will see the link tree link tree link there, and you can go ahead and sign up for my newsletter there, because when I talk about this in my newsletter, I'm actually going to accompany it with an EFT video. All right. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.